The day the ocean took HIM. Imagine leaving the coast for what should have been a short fishing trip. You expect to come home in a day or two. You expect to see your family again. You expect the horizon to remain where it has always been. But then the engine dies. The weather changes. The coast disappears. And suddenly, the entire world becomes water. No roads. No houses. No lights. No radio. No rescue team coming toward you. Only an open boat and an ocean that stretches farther than the human eye can see. For most people, this would be the moment when survival becomes a countdown. A few hours without water. A few days without food. A few weeks before the body begins to collapse. But one fisherman would remain alive in the Pacific Ocean for something that sounds almost impossible. 438 days. More than 1 year. More than 14 months. A journey of thousands of miles across the open ocean in a small fishing boat. His name was José Salvador Alvarenga. And when he finally appeared on a tiny island in the Marshall Islands in January 2014, the people who found him did not immediately believe what he was saying. He was exhausted. He was severely weakened. He had spent more than a year away from civilization. And he claimed that he had survived almost entirely alone. But this story did not begin with a dramatic shipwreck. It began like thousands of fishing trips before it. In November 2012, Alvarenga left the Mexican coast for a fishing trip. He was an experienced fisherman. The boat was small, open, and designed for fishing close to the coast. But the Pacific Ocean does not care what a journey was supposed to be. A powerful storm arrived. The weather became dangerous. And according to Alvarenga's account, the boat was pushed far away from the coast. The engine stopped working. The fishing equipment was damaged, and the distance between him and land began to grow. At first, he still had a chance. He could fish. He had a boat. He had some equipment. But the most important thing was disappearing behind him. The coast. Because once the boat was carried beyond the normal routes of rescue, Alvarenga was no longer simply lost. He was becoming invisible. The Pacific Ocean is so enormous that a small boat can disappear inside it without leaving a trace. From the shore, no one can see you. From the sky, you may be impossible to find. And from another boat, you are nothing more than a tiny object hidden among millions of waves. Alvarenga was not traveling toward a destination. He was drifting. The wind pushed him. The waves pushed him. The currents pushed him. And every day, the Pacific carried him farther away from the place he had left. He had no reliable way to control where he was going. He could not simply turn around and sail back to Mexico. There was no engine to take him home. No proper sail to carry him across the ocean. No navigation system guiding him toward land. The only direction he could be certain of was the direction he had already traveled. Away. And somewhere in that enormous ocean, the first question of his survival appeared. How do you survive when the thing you need most, land, may be thousands of miles away? At the beginning, Alvarenga was not alone. Another fisherman, Ezequiel Cordoba, had been on the trip with him. And that detail would later become one of the most painful parts of the story. 2 men had left the coast. 2 men had entered the ocean. But only one of them would eventually return. The boat became their entire world. The floor became their bed. The sky became their ceiling. The ocean became their prison. And every morning brought the same terrifying realization. They were still there. Still drifting. Still far from land. Still alive. But being alive in the open ocean is not the same thing as being safe. Because on land, survival is often about finding something. Water, food, shelter, help. At sea, everything is different. There may be water everywhere, and almost none of it is drinkable. There may be life beneath you, but catching it may be almost impossible. And the sun can become as dangerous as the storm. The first days were not yet the greatest challenge. The greatest challenge was understanding that this was no longer a normal fishing trip. The journey had changed, and the ocean had taken control. The boat that became a world. The human body can survive many things. It can survive hunger for a surprisingly long time. It can survive exhaustion. It can survive cold. It can survive fear. But without fresh water, survival becomes a race against time. And this is where the Pacific became truly dangerous. The ocean surrounded Alvarenga in every direction, but he could not drink it. Salt water does not save a thirsty person. It makes the situation worse. So the sky became his most important source of survival. Rain. According to his account, he collected rainwater whenever storms passed over the boat. Sometimes, the difference between another day alive and the end of the journey may have been a single storm. A cloud. A few minutes of rain. Water falling from the sky. The ocean beneath him was endless. But the water he needed came from above. And then there was food. A fisherman who had once gone to sea with equipment, fuel, and a plan now had to turn the entire ocean into a survival system. He needed to catch anything he could. Fish, birds, turtles, anything that could provide energy. The details of exactly how he caught and consumed different animals have been debated and reported differently over the years. But the basic survival problem was clear. He needed calories, and he needed them repeatedly. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. For weeks, then months, then a year. This is what makes his story so difficult to understand. A person can survive one terrible day. A person can survive one terrible week. But 438 days requires something different. It requires repeating the same struggle thousands of times. Wake up. Find water. Find food. Protect yourself from the sun. Survive the weather. Sleep. Wake up. Do it again. And again. And again. At some point, the ocean stops feeling like a place you are passing through. It becomes your entire universe. The boat becomes your house. The sky becomes your clock. The sun becomes your calendar. And the horizon becomes the same wall in every direction. Alvarenga's companion, Ezequiel Cordoba, eventually became seriously ill and died during the ordeal, according to Alvarenga's account. From that point forward, the story became even more difficult to imagine. Because the physical struggle was already terrible, but the psychological struggle was just beginning. Imagine spending days without hearing a human voice. Then weeks. Then months. No conversation. No footsteps. No door opening. No city noise. No music from another room. No one asking you a simple question. The human mind is built for connection. But the ocean offers silence. A massive, endless silence. There are no streets. No buildings. No familiar objects. Only the sound of waves hitting the boat. And when the weather became violent, the silence disappeared. The ocean could transform in minutes. A calm surface could become a wall of water. Wind could tear across the boat. Rain could make it impossible to see. The boat could rise on one wave and disappear into the next. Every storm had the power to destroy the fragile world Alvarenga was trying to maintain. The boat was not a ship. It was not designed to cross an ocean. It was a small fishing vessel. And every day it remained afloat was another day that the ocean had not taken it. But surviving the storm was only half the problem. After the storm came the consequences: wet clothing, exhaustion, lost equipment, injuries, hunger, thirst, and the knowledge that the next storm could be worse. At some point, survival becomes a process of reducing your world. You stop thinking about next year. You stop thinking about next month. You stop thinking about next week. You think about today. Can I find water today? Can I eat today? Can I keep the boat afloat today? Can I survive this night? That is how the human mind survives the impossible. It does not always conquer the entire future. Sometimes it survives one day at a time. And for Alvarenga, one day became another. Then another. Then another. Somewhere far away, the world had already begun to assume that he was dead. Because from the perspective of the people who knew him, he had disappeared. There was no call, no message, no confirmed sighting, no rescue. A person who goes missing at sea is not simply missing. The ocean creates a terrible uncertainty. There is no grave, no final moment, no proof, only silence. And while people on land were left to imagine the worst, one small boat continued moving across the Pacific. The longest journey of his life. The most frightening thing about being lost at sea is not always the distance. It is the lack of control. When you are walking through a forest, you can choose a direction. When you are lost in a city, you can ask someone for help. When you are trapped on a road, someone may eventually find you. But in a small boat in the Pacific, the world can move you without asking permission. The wind changes. The currents change. The weather changes. And your position changes with them. According to reports, Alvarenga drifted thousands of miles across the Pacific before reaching the Marshall Islands. The journey was so long that it became difficult for many people to believe. Even after he was found, questions remained. Could a person really survive that long? Could the boat really travel that far? Could the currents have carried him across the ocean? Scientists and survival experts examined the basic question. And the answer was not simply impossible. In fact, experts noted that the conditions could make such survival plausible. A small boat could provide protection from the water. Rain could provide fresh water. The tropical Pacific could provide occasional storms. And marine life could provide food. That does not make the experience easy. It explains only how survival might have been possible. The difference is enormous. A survival system can exist, but a human being still has to endure it. A storm does not care whether you have been drifting for 1 day or 300 days. Hunger does not care about your story. The sun does not care how much weight you have lost. And the ocean does not reward you for surviving yesterday. Every morning, the struggle begins again. The longer the journey continued, the more unusual the story became. Alvarenga was no longer surviving a shipwreck. He was surviving a life that had been completely separated from civilization. Months passed. The calendar continued moving. Christmas passed. New Year's Day passed. The world continued, but his world remained inside a small boat. Imagine the psychological effect of that. You could be surrounded by millions of people on Earth and still be completely alone. You could look at the stars at night and know that somewhere beneath those same stars, people were sleeping in houses. People were eating dinner. People were driving cars. People were talking. People were living normal lives. And you were floating in darkness. The ocean can create a strange kind of isolation. It is not simply being alone. It is being unreachable. That difference matters. A person alone in a room can open a door. A person alone on an island can walk. But a person in the middle of the Pacific may have no door to open and nowhere to walk. The horizon becomes a circle, and every direction looks the same. For Alvarenga, the greatest threat may not have been one dramatic event. It may have been repetition. The same sky, the same water, the same boat, the same struggle, day after day, month after month. The human mind expects change, but the ocean can offer almost none. And this is where survival becomes psychological. You have to find a reason to continue. Sometimes that reason is food. Sometimes it is rain. Sometimes it is the belief that land must exist somewhere beyond the horizon. And sometimes survival may be nothing more than refusing to stop. The human body can be pushed far beyond what most people imagine. But the mind often makes the final decision. A person may be hungry, weak, exhausted, terrified. But if the mind continues searching for the next solution, survival continues. And the story of Alvarenga became a battle between two forces. The ocean constantly saying, "You are too far away," and the human mind answering, "Then I will survive one more day." One more day became one more week. One more week became one more month. And eventually, the impossible number began to grow. 100 days, 200 days, 300 days, 400 days. By that point, the idea of returning home must have become almost impossible to imagine. But then, after more than a year at sea, something changed. The horizon was no longer empty. There was land, a small island, not a city, not a port, not a rescue ship, just land. And after 438 days of drifting, the man who had disappeared from the world finally reached it. The man the world thought was dead. On January 30, 2014, a man appeared on Eben Atoll in the Marshall Islands. He was weak. He was dehydrated. He had been at sea for more than a year. The people who found him had no reason to expect someone to emerge from the ocean. And when he began explaining where he had come from, the story sounded impossible. He said he had been drifting from Mexico. He said he had survived for 438 days. He said he had crossed thousands of miles of ocean. And he said that he had survived by catching what he could and collecting rainwater. The first reaction to extraordinary stories is often doubt. And this story was extraordinary. People questioned the timeline. They questioned the distance. They questioned his physical condition. They questioned whether anyone could survive that long on a small boat. Those questions were understandable. A story this extreme demands evidence. But experts examined the basic science of the journey. The tropical Pacific has frequent rain systems. Ocean currents can move floating objects across enormous distances. A boat can protect a person from constant immersion. And marine animals can provide food. National Geographic reported that survival experts considered the basic scenario plausible, while also discussing the extreme physiological challenges involved. That does not mean every detail of the story can be independently verified. And it is important not to turn disputed details into proven facts. But the central reality remains extraordinary. A fisherman disappeared. He was eventually found alive more than a year later on a remote Pacific atoll. And his journey became one of the most remarkable documented survival stories of modern times. There is another part of the story that makes it even more powerful. The ocean did not simply test his body. It removed almost everything that normally defines a human life. His home, his work, his family, his routines, his identity in society. Everything disappeared. And what remained was the most basic version of existence. Find water, find food, stay alive. Repeat. For 438 days, the question was not, what will I do with my life? The question was, can I reach tomorrow? And perhaps that is why this story continues to fascinate people. Because most of us live surrounded by systems that protect us. Water comes from a tap. Food comes from a store. A phone connects us to the world. A hospital may be minutes away. If something goes wrong, someone can often help. But Alvarenga's world had none of that. The distance between life and death was measured by rain, by the condition of a small boat, by the ability to find food, by the ability to keep going. And then after 438 days, land finally appeared. The man who had left Mexico as a fisherman returned as something else. Not a superhero, not an invincible man. A human being who had been pushed through an experience that most people could not survive for even a fraction of that time. The story also raises a deeper question. What exactly is survival? Is it simply keeping the body alive? Or is it refusing to allow isolation, fear, and hopelessness to make the final decision? Because in the open ocean, Alvarenga had almost no control over where he was going. But he still had control over one thing: the decision to continue. Every time he searched for water, every time he searched for food, every time he protected himself from the sun, every time he survived another storm, he was making the same decision again. Continue. And perhaps the most remarkable part of the story is not that he survived 438 days. It is that he survived 438 separate mornings. Each morning was another opportunity to give up. And each morning somehow he remained alive. The ocean had taken his direction. It had taken his comfort. It had taken his certainty. But it did not take everything. It did not take the instinct to survive. And that instinct is older than civilization, older than cities, older than technology. Before humans built roads, houses, hospitals, and machines, survival depended on the same basic questions. Where is water? Where is food? Where is shelter? How do I survive another night? José Salvador Alvarenga was forced to ask those questions in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. And the answer again and again was to keep searching. The Pacific Ocean is still there. The same vast ocean. The same horizon. The same storms. But somewhere in that enormous blue emptiness, one small boat once carried a man who refused to disappear. For 438 days, the world believed he was gone. But he was still moving, still searching, still alive. And when he finally stepped onto land, the ocean had not given him back the life he left behind. It had given him something else. Proof. Proof that the human body can survive more than we think. Proof that the mind can continue even when the world has disappeared. And proof that sometimes the difference between the end of a story and the beginning of another is simply one more day. Because José Salvador Alvarenga did not survive the Pacific by defeating it. He survived by refusing to let it decide when his story was over. This is Deep by Assef.